better thing to choose than to talk about purpose for one of our beginning talks here on Sip and Style. And what I realize is that your personal style really starts with knowing who you are, with knowing your purpose. That in order to express your outer style, you must know yourself and know what you're expressing. So let me know if you're here. Say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Love to have you be in this conversation with me every single week. So this can be kind of a daunting topic, discovering your purpose, knowing your purpose. I know for me, along my life of personal development for the past 40 years, it's been, it was always like one of those, oh yeah, I want to know that, but like to go in and discover it was always more work than I expected it to be. So if you've not heard or seen me before, I'm Dr. Shelley Nash, and I'm the host of the Confident Woman Facebook group. I help women develop a personal style, and I help them express their authentic style and step into their feminine power. I help women to elevate and master their confidence, their self-image, and have great style. So if that's you, you're in the right place. And so let's continue this discussion today about purpose. Do you know your purpose? If you know your purpose, put yes in the chat. If you don't, put no in the chat. If you want to know it, say want to in the chat, so I know where you're at. Maybe you've explored this before in the past, and maybe you feel, people will often say they feel off purpose in what they're doing in their life. Maybe they feel like they've gotten off track. So maybe you can put off track in the chat to let me know exactly where do you feel you are with knowing your purpose, living your life on purpose, and really understanding how important purpose is to developing your outer style. If you don't know my history, a little bit of my history is that I kind of come full circle in my life. I started loving fashion and clothes when I was 5 years old in my teens, and then went to college for textiles, clothing, and fashion. And then I got into holistic health, became a massage therapist, a chiropractor, really studied the body-mind connection and body-mind emotions for many, many years, trying to figure out myself, why I was so emotional, and trying to figure out what it was all about. And then I got hooked into mindset and went into, from chiropractic, working on emotions and healing emotional patterns within people, to really coaching women in particular into really taking charge of their own life, taking charge of their own emotions, so that they don't need to go to someone to be fixed, so that they can learn to fix themselves. So that's a little bit of my history and how I'm qualified to talk to you about all of it. I've been coaching with Bob Proctor and his organization for the last 5+ years. And I have, throughout that entire time, had a coaching practice of my own, teaching my own materials that basically have the things that have helped me throughout my life. So say hi in the chat. Let me know who you are. Click the StreamYard button so I can see your name or your picture, or just say your name and let me know where you're from. Love to have you. So how do you feel about where you're at with your purpose? I'm going to just tell you a few things, but I'd love for this to be a discussion as well. So, oh, hi, Juanita. Good to see you. I know where my passion lies. I feel it when I hit the sweet spot. That's good. And then, so the object then is to keep that going, keep that, that passion continually flowing in your life, not block that passion, keep it going, keep connected to it every single day, and then take action based on that. And then you're going to have an amazing life and business, whatever you're doing. So thanks for that feedback. So in order to express our authentic style through our clothing, we first must know who we are. And perhaps you've had a fashion makeover, perhaps you've gone to a stylist and gotten some new clothes. I used to do this for a living. And what I discovered is that even though I was putting new clothes on the outside and they looked good and they felt great for a time or for the event they were going to, it didn't change anything about how they felt about themselves, how they talked to themselves in their inner conversation. And it didn't give them that inner confidence that I really desired for them to have. And so really working in fashion really helped me so much in what I do now, because I can remember when I would style people and what they would say. And maybe this has happened to you. The first thing women do when they go into a fitting room and take their clothes off is start saying negative things about their body. Whether they're saying them out loud or they're saying them to themselves in the back of their mind, it's still happening, especially if you're going to try on swimsuits. It's like, oh my gosh. And then what the salesperson or person helping them hears is all this negative stuff about, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And I used to say to people, like, we're just going to dress you for right now and make you look good for right now, because that's where you're at right now. And you can't do anything about it right now, so I would get them to stop that chatter. But even getting them to stop the chatter in the fitting room in that moment would not get them to stop the chatter at home when they're in front of the mirror at home. So it's so important for us to really look at doing the inner work that's necessary, because style is really about who you are, and style is about expressing who you are. And if you don't know who you are, what you want, and what you want to do in the world, then it's going to be really hard for you to have an authentic style that really represents who you are at your core. So so excited to talk to you about this first step, purpose, today. So it's really, if you're looking at it, if you're starting out looking at it, you want to ask yourself, what do you love? Because it's the things that you've loved throughout your life that are like the thread through your life. So, maybe make a list of everything that you love to do, everything that brings you joy, everything that brings you passion, like Juanita said, that's her sweet spot, that feeling of passion. What are your gifts and talents? We all know we have gifts and talents in the jobs that we do, but in general, what are your gifts and talents? Are you someone that, can see the greatness in other people? Are you someone that always has a smile on your face? Are you someone that's always lifting others up? Or are you someone that is more quiet, more shy, but you make deep connections with people that you are involved with, that you are friends with? Maybe you don't have a lot of friends, but the friends you do have are really good friends. So you have to look at, like, what are all your good qualities? What are the best things that you do? And then you can make a list of some of these things. And then the ultimate question is, what do you want? And so knowing who you are, I do an exercise with some of my clients called Finding Your Genius. And I call this, that we discover this golden thread that's run throughout your life. That is the genius of who you are, and it's always been there. And maybe you haven't recognized it, maybe you've covered it up, maybe you've hid it throughout your early years, and now you're just tapping back into it. But what we discover in that exercise is that sometimes the highest moments of your life and the lowest moments of your life have a connection. And like the worst moment of your life and the highest top tier moment of your life are connected. And it doesn't feel like it, of course, when you're in your lowest moment of your life, but it can all give you intel about your purpose and the genius of who you are. And I'll have some water. And I really believe that when you're born, that you come into this world with a mission and a purpose, that you're supposed to do for your life. And you could do it many, many ways, but it's a generalized mission and a purpose that you were given and you were born into this life. And you know how you see a baby and they're just perfect. Everybody wants to be around babies because they're just straight from source, straight from God, however you want to say that. They're perfect. They don't have anything negative about them. We love looking into their eyes. We love wondering what they're about and what they're going to be about in their life. But you were that baby once, and you were that perfection, and that perfection lies within you right now. And so as you grew, as you were a sponge to take on everything around you during the first 0 to 6 years of your life, you took on things from around you, statements, other people's beliefs, other people's thoughts, things that were true for them, maybe weren't even true for them, but definitely weren't true for you, but you took them on as real because you didn't know anything better. You didn't know anything different. And then maybe some things happened in your young life that hurt you, that made you want to shut down that light that's within you and made you want to cover up. And, you tried something once and you were your authentic self, and then somebody put you down for it. And so then you shut down a little bit, and you kept shutting down more and more and more as your little life went on. And so that by the time you're 18 years old, about 96 to 98% of all your conditions and programs within you are set. And the majority of those aren't probably going to serve you in your adult life. And yet they're set. They're locked in as your kind of computer program in your body, in your mind. And so unless you go about updating your programming, you're going to run off that like a computer does for the rest of your life. And you know that we're always having to update our computers and our phones. So why not update yourself? So basically you have this perfection within you that you tend to cover up. You tend to not let it shine through as you're growing up. And we need to uncover you. We need to uncover the truth of you, your authentic self, everything that you wanted, everything that you came for, and get you doing that. And aligned with that for the life that you have now, no matter what your age is. I know this can be a daunting process, but it's something that we constantly want to be looking at. Am I aligned with the purpose that I really am here to do in my life, that I'm really here to serve? So does that make sense? Are you resonating with that? Put yes in the chat if you resonate. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me a question in the chat. So I wanted to talk a little bit here about purpose, vision, and goals, because I know these terms can get confusing. They were confusing for me. In fact, goal setting was very confusing for me for most of my life. I would buy books about goal setting, and I would try to set goals, but I really didn't know how to effectively do it. Even though I bought the books and had people telling me what to do, it just never really clicked. And when I heard this explanation of purpose and vision and goals, it really helped me to get a picture of it. And, we think in pictures. So when you have a picture of something, you understand it more fully. So purpose, vision, and goals. So who here feels like they know their purpose right now? They know, whether you call it life purpose or business purpose or general just purpose for your life. Who here feels like they know their purpose right now? Put yes in the chat. So how I like to see this is, think of a mountain, like you're a mountain climber and you are going to the top of the mountain. So the top of the mountain is your purpose for this climbing event. And you could think of your purpose in life as the top of the mountain, the peak of the mountain, what you're striving to live towards every single day. Good to know, Juanita, you're on track, that you have your purpose, that you're striving to live this purpose every single day. And so it's your overall top of the mountain goal. And then along the route to the top of the mountain to fulfilling your purpose, your life purpose, you are going to have a vision. That vision is your strategy or your map that you're going to use to get to the top of the mountain. So your vision is how you think it's going to come about. Now, I say how you think because it's usually never how we think that what is what actually happens. But you have a vision, you have a strategy of how you're going to go about getting to the top of the mountain. So that's more like your vision, your life of how it's all going to work out. And then you have along the route to the top of the mountain, a climber will usually have what's called a base camp or like a first stop that they make. And then they'll readjust and reevaluate how they're doing. They'll check the weather, all of these kinds of things. And so then when they're okay at the first base camp, then they make their plan to get to the second base camp and they set out on their way. So your goals could be thought of as these base camps along the way to the top of the mountain, your purpose. And the key to this is you reach your first goal and then you sit and you evaluate and you see if you need to change anything in your vision or strategy in order to get to the next goal on the path to your purpose. And this is a great way to think about this. So the purpose is the overall mountain, your top of your mountain of your life purpose. And then the strategy is how you're going to navigate to the top of the mountain, how you're going to have a map and a strategy to get to each goal or base camp along the way. Now, goals, we always want to set big goals because the purpose of goal is for you to grow. The purpose of the goal is not necessarily even for you to get there, but it's to cause growth within you. If you're not growing, you're decaying. So you want to always be growing. So the bigger the goal, the bigger you're going to grow. And you want to set a goal that you don't know how it's going to happen. It's going to cause you to be nervous, have an upset stomach. It's going to cause you to be scared. But it's going to get you out of your comfort zone and cause you to grow. And you're here to grow. You're here for that growth, that continuing on in your life. And so you're always, all of your goals along the mountainside of your life purpose are going to be big goals. They're not going to be just small goals that you know you can reach. They're not going to be small goals that you think you can figure out. They're going to be goals that you have no idea how you're going to do them. And it's really in the no idea of how you're going to do them where the magic lies. Because it's not until you take that step along the path towards your goal where all the resources will come to you. And the path is going to be shown to you. People will come into your life. Situations will come to your life that wouldn't come if you were just sitting still. So being in action towards, living your purpose is one of the most important things towards achieving that sense of fulfillment within yourself. So does that make sense? Do you like that explanation too? It's such an easy way to really understand purpose, vision, and goals. Now, that overall purpose, it may take you a while to figure that out. And that's why I do what I do. I actually help people discover their purpose, what it is you want. When my mentor, Bob Proctor, would ask anyone what they want, and me included, it would be you felt like you were a deer in the headlights, that all of a sudden you couldn't even speak, that you didn't even know who you were or what you wanted, because the way he asked it is like, what do you want? What do you want for your life? What do you want? What do you really want? And it's like, oh, I've never really thought of it that way. Nobody's really asked me before. What do I want? Not what kind of career do I want? Not what, what kind of education do I want? What do you want? What is going to make you feel fulfilled, happy? What is it that's going to fill your heart with joy? These are questions that we are never asked growing up. And so for you to begin thinking in this way is a little uncomfortable. So I always recommend that you get out a journal and you start making a shopping list of everything you want. And some of the things will be small, some of the things will be big, but eventually you're going to get down to your heart's desire. What does your heart want? What are the feelings that you want to feel? What are the things that are going to make you fulfilled in your life? You'll get to the deeper ones, but you might have to go through some of the more superficial ones before you get to those deeper wants. And then if that's challenging for you, you can always start with what don't I want? Because we're often trained and taught to think about what we don't want. And that's just the way our society is. If you're in a relationship that didn't work out, you immediately make a list of what you don't want in the next relationship. And what we know from the law of manifestation and the law of attraction is that if you make a list of what you don't want, then that's what you're focusing on, what you don't want, then that's automatically going to be what you get in the next relationship. And if you're a woman that's done this before, I'm sure you know that you've attracted pretty much the same man in a different body every single time you go off to get a new relationship, and you really want something different, but you're focused on what you don't want. So if you want to focus on for a moment what you don't want in your life, then go through that list and write the opposite, which is probably going to be what you do want, and those and cross out what you don't want, shred that, burn that, and then only focus on what you do want. So that's another way to get it out of your mind if you're feeling stuck in the moment about what is it that I want. So is there any questions? I've been rambling on for a bit. Any questions that you have around your purpose? I like to think of it as your genius, that you were born with these gifts and talents that no one else has. You're like a snowflake. And so if we go back to style, in my class, Style Your Life, that I'm taking a number of women through, we're talking about, your authentic style. But we can't get to your authentic style unless you know who your authentic self is, who you authentically are. And so that's why this is so important. So you can create a style for yourself on the outside, but if it doesn't fit, it's not going to have the magic that something that fits with you, that fits with your personality, that fits with who you are. And one of my ultimate goals is that, good to have you here anyway. Glad you found where we are at. You can go back and watch the replay. It'll be in the guides tab under Sip and Style. So what was I talking about? I forgot. In the Style Your Life coaching group, we do go through this whole process, and discovering your authenticity is just so important. And then, the fact that as you go through your own personal development, you're going to go through many, many layers, getting to the core of who you are. And so each time you go through a new layer, you might have a desire then to have that show up in your outer style. Be more funky, be more avant-garde, dress more edgy. These are things that I've noticed come up for me. The more I allow myself to speak up, show up, be fully myself, the more I want to express that in my outer style. And that's what we're talking about. So it's really raising your awareness around who you are that allows you to have that great style on the outside. And ultimately, one of the goals we have is that, when you walk out into the world, say grocery shopping or just pumping gas, when people see you, they all make judgments right away. Everybody makes a first impression, whether we like it or not. So their impression of you is going to be aligned with the impression you want to make. And that's what we're working towards too. People are impressed by you in a certain way. And you want to be in control of what they're impressed by you, how they see you. And because you want them to be seeing you as your truest self, and when you start showing up as your true self, your authentic self, you're aligned with where you're going, the goal that you're shooting for, the woman that you're going to be when you reach your goal, how you're going to dress, how you're going to walk, talk, speak at your goal, then um, you're going to be a magnet for everything you desire, whether that's new clients, more business, more friends, more relationships, that soulmate. When you get yourself right, everything else gets right. So